Hey, you're watching Rockin' and Rollin'. I'm Dan.
I'm Jenna.
And we're the Thompsons.
And we
have a story to tell you. One of these days we'll get this intro right. We've only done it like 6 times, so. Hey, you're watching Rockin' and Rollin', and we have a story to tell you. Dumbest thing we've ever done. And that was very attractive.
There was a gnat flying in my mouth.
Ew. Hey, you're watching Rockin' and Rollin'. So last time we left you guys, we were broken down in Bridgeport. And I'm happy to say that we were able to get Thunder Truck up and running again. And I'm even happier to say that he's not broken down on us since. A lot of other stuff has, but not Thunder Truck, which is good. He's been very strong. So we took off from Bridgeport and
we headed to our original destination, Lone Pine, California. Gorgeous place to stay. The campground was called Tuttle Creek Campground.
It's managed BLM camping, which means you actually have access to toilets and potable water, not on the campsite, but on a non-threaded spigot nearby. So,
which means we got to drive with an empty tank and fill up when we got there, which was great.
Which is very nice. Yes, and trash service and all that good stuff. So super cheap. I think totally worth it. There are areas that you can dry camp outside of the campground that are of course free because it's BLM land, but they're definitely not as nice. This particular campground had a nice creek running through it. It's very good at keeping us cool in the hot afternoon sun, which is nice.
We had full sun, so we had full solar. There are two good spots. There are actually 2 good spots. I don't know what I was going to say.
I think you were going to say there was actually 2 good spots.
Oh, no, I wanted to talk about, so when we did pull in, we found a lot of sites, none that were super, super long for big rigs, and none that were super, super level. So we actually pulled into one site that didn't quite work out and ended up pulling into a different site and made it work.
Yeah, they were pretty extremely not level. So they're not pretty extremely unlevel. Yeah, they weren't very level. So we had difficulty with our auto leveling system, which later we found out was probably a bigger issue than just the campsite. So why did we tell that story?
Just talking about the campground.
Oh yeah. So it was nice. Right out our front door, we had a beautiful view of Mount Whitney.
Oh, so pretty.
There you go. Good job watching the ball. It wasn't a very good throw. So as far as the actual town of Lone Pine is concerned, there's actually quite a bit to do. We checked out the Museum of Western Film History, which was pretty cool because pretty much every Western film ever made was filmed in Lone Pine, California. The Alabama Hills and Mount Whitney just create an awesome backdrop that is like every Western landscape ever. So tons of movies were filmed there, so it was really cool learning about that, teaching our kids about that.
Yeah, and actually parts of Star Wars was filmed there.
Good point, yes.
And parts of Tremors was filmed there. Things like that. And the other, what's the Quentin Tarantino movie? The Django.
The Django.
No, I said the Django.
The Django.
The Django.
It's not pronounced Django. It's pronounced Django.
Django Fett.
Not the same bounty hunter. Close though.
So there was also lots of hiking to do around the area. We chose to do a smaller, shorter hike that would be better for the kids. And so we all went and checked out the loop to Mobius Arch.
Mobius Arch.
It was beautiful. It's really
That's right.
cool and really easy hike. Super fun for the kids. Lots of rock climbing and beautiful views.
We have some super high quality B-roll shot and portrait on our phone.
Of course, you're going to call me out on that.
But yeah, that trail is super cool. There's tons of other trails around there. I saw lots of people out there on mountain bikes and stuff and hiking, and I think it would be a really cool place to explore if your kids can handle it or if you don't have kids.
And it was gorgeous weather when we were there, late October-ish.
Perfect. I actually don't remember it being too hot or too cold at all.
Nope. Beautiful. Beautiful.
And that's it. Well, see you later.
So after Lone Pine, we headed to
We headed over to Lake Mead.
We headed to Lake Mead.
Back to Nevada. praise the Lord, not California.
Okay. So from, okay.
Okay.
So the whole plan originally was to go from Reno to Vegas and stop somewhere in between because we don't like to go too long of a distance before stopping. So that is how I actually found Lone Pine. I was looking for midway points that actually had something to do because in Nevada, going down from Reno to Vegas, there's pretty much nothing. So instead, we decided to go, 395?
Mm-hmm.
Through California, and that's where you'll hit Lone Pine right in between. So I highly suggest that. After that, we did head to Lake Mead. Mm-hmm. We found a cool spot in Lake Mead. It was very, very far into the actual national park of Lake Mead. I had no idea how big it was, but it was gorgeous nonetheless. It was not right on the lake, but it was
almost. I mean, it was like a block from the marina, so very close.
But I think it
Lake
took us
Mead
probably
is huge.
Probably about 45 minutes just to get out of the park itself before we made it anywhere in Vegas. But still a great place to stay. We didn't want to be in the town of Vegas itself, just to avoid people. No, just to avoid...
We were social distancing before it was cool.
Just to avoid all the crowds and everything. We really wanted to find somewhere that was off the beaten path, and it for sure was off the beaten path. So there were a few things we wanted to do while we were near Vegas. One was to see Hoover Dam.
Yes, very cool. If you want an awesome homeschool day, definitely take your kids to Hoover Dam. Yeah. Just don't bring any firearms or ammunition with you. Now, full disclosure, I don't keep firearms in the truck, but I do keep some ammo in the truck. And so I was trying to explain to the security officers, and they're like, well, if you have, less than 200 rounds, we could probably let it slide. And I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. And they would not let me take my family into Hoover Dam with a few boxes of ammo. So we drove all the way out here to this, I think it's called Pro Gun Club. It was the nearest gun retailer, firearms, shooting range, whatever. And they said that I could drop my boxes of ammo off there for safekeeping while we toured the dam. So that's what we're doing. Driving an extra half hour after we drove an hour and a half to see the dam. We are now driving an extra half hour to go drop off my ammunition. So just a word to the wise, if you guys are going to visit Hoover Dam, make sure you don't have any ammunition as well as firearms in your vehicle. You have something in your teeth.
I do?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. I doubt you can see it.
Hopefully not. Thank you for picking my teeth.
You're welcome, on camera. Now everyone's going to rewind to go see if they can see the thing in your teeth.
Okay.
They were very nice, and they actually let me store all of my ammo in their gun safe while we did the Hoover Dam tour. So we turned around, drove a half hour to the Vegas Pro Gun Club, dropped off the ammo, half hour drive back to Hoover Dam.
It was worth it, though. We actually did a little tour, got to see inside Hoover Dam, got to let the kids see all that, and it was pretty exciting to see that. So.
Yeah, learn how they poured that much concrete in that short amount of time. It was crazy. And yeah, it was very cool, very educational. They didn't let me park in the parking structure because I had a 5-gallon tank of diesel fuel in the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Which, never mind the 35 gallons of diesel that's actually in my truck, but that 5 gallons, not okay. So yeah, so if you're gonna go visit Hoover Dam, that's what you want to take away from this, that you can't bring diesel fuel and you can't bring ammo.
The other cool thing that I wasn't really expecting to be super cool, but it definitely exceeded my expectations, was the Valley of Fire. Such a neat experience. So many hikes, so many places to see.
In fact, we had so much fun as a family over at the Valley of Fire State Park. I mean, it was basically a playground for us and the kids that we feel like it deserves a whole entire video in and of itself. So go ahead and watch that next video right there. It'll be available next week. And if it's not ready yet, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell notification so that you do know when it is ready. And remember, until next time, life rocks.
When your home rolls.